Hey friends, today I've brought some tomatoes outside. I'm going to up pot them and try and get organized on my tomatoes so I can see which tomatoes I have for me and which ones I'm going to give away or sell so I can start making sure every one of these tomatoes has a home. Hopefully this is the last bag of potting soil that I have to buy this year. So I'm pretty much just getting all these tomatoes out of my basement now. I'll leave the peppers there for a couple more days. I like things a little bit hotter, but it is short sleeve weather. The ground is almost ready. So I'm gonna get these ones that I have let get way out of control. That is 3 tomato plants in one. I'm gonna get them up potted into their own pots with more soil. I'm giving everybody a good fertilizer with some of that seaweed fertilizer that I got, and we'll see what I've got available for myself and what I've got available for other people. And pretty much we're just gonna hang outside all day long. So I got holes in more cups, I got a bag of soil here, and we're just gonna start yanking these apart. This crazy tomato is a Dr. White Cheese. I am gonna take this one and plant it because it's so big. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of protection. I'm afraid that I'm gonna snap the stalk if I try and do anything else with it. I'm gonna plant this Dr. White Cheese tomato, the big, huge, long one, and I'm gonna show you how to plant it if you can't dig a deep hole. This is the giant. Now, ideally, I want to cut off any leaves and just bury as much of that stem as I can to make a strong plant. But I'm not going to dig a hole that deep. So what I'm going to do is dig this trench. Sorry, my shadow's in the way. But I'm going to dig a trench and I'm going to lay it sideways in the hole. Like this. And then I'm just going to kind of really gently bend the end up so this is out of the ground. The plant will grow from here, but it will create roots all the way down here in a long row. I know that sounds weird, but I promise it works. So I just lay it down like this and cover it very carefully. You don't want to break the stem. And then I'm just going to kind of leave this guy in the corner. And he will eventually turn up to face the sun. I know he doesn't look great, but he will, I promise. He'll turn up, he'll face the sun, and he'll start growing up here, which is where I want him. I'm gonna go ahead and water this in really good with some of that fish emulsion water. All right, buddy, good luck. Okay, so the other tomatoes I'm planting today are my cherry tomatoes, and the reason is that they're in a very sheltered, warm spot. Let me show you. I plant my cherry tomatoes here on these trellises here and over there. So they are in a sheltered spot between 2 houses. They're directly next to my house where there's heat. They get lots of morning sun and they're up off the ground. So these are going to be okay here, I hope. Now, yes, they're going to be just fine. Let's not worry about it. So let's go ahead and tell you which ones I planted here for myself. Back over here, I have got Tropical Sunset. Right back there, 1, 2, and 3. I've got these ones that are grape tomatoes called A. Grappoli de Inverness or something like that. And then I've got a blue boar back in the corner on that side. So I've got 5 of them in here. because this window well does take a little way some of my space. And then down over here, I have got, this one looks so sad. That's a Super Sweet 100. I've got 2 black strawberries, 2 sunrise bumblebee, and 1 more blue boar. My favorite thing to do with cherry tomatoes, other than packing them in lunches, is to blister them in a pan all together. And I like when it looks really pretty with a bunch of different colors. So if you notice, I've got some that are that blue, purpley kind of color. I've got some that are yellow, some that are yellow and orange mix, plus the ones that are typically red or a little more pinky. I love grabbing a random handful, couple handfuls of cherry tomatoes and go ahead and throwing them into a pan, blistering them, and using them to make some kind of sauce to put on noodles. And my family all will eat it. So that is kind of my plan with the cherry tomatoes. I did dehydrate quite a few last year, but I have lots left. So I'm not in a huge need of cherry tomatoes this year. They'll mostly be just for fresh eating. Okay, I turned the camera off because I had a lot to do. I'm filthy. I had lots of tomatoes planted, all the cherries, plus that Dr. Wychees. And I have all these ones potted up the way they need to be potted for the rest of the season. They're all fertilized and watered, enjoying a little bit of sun, and then we're going to move them to their new home over here. Staged over in the driveway. They're all going to go right here when they're done. This rack is the one from the basement. I don't need it down there anymore. It just comes apart really easy, so I just pulled it apart and put it back together out here. I'm going to go ahead and line them all up on here in their trays. So they're next to the house. They get wind protection with this fence here. They actually have a little bit of an overhang here, so they're not going to get directly rained on. And they're not going to get very much sun, which is okay. In the beginning, I want to have some shade. I'll move them out to the driveway like they are right now to get some sun if I think they need to until I'm ready to plant. After just a little bit of time in the sun and the wind, they're over here back on their rack. Hi, Bailey. Shielded from most of the sun and all of the wind. They're up against the house. There's no wind back in this spot really. And they look fantastic. Now, my total tomatoes that I grew ended up being probably about 150, 160. I could have gotten more. I should have gotten more. If I would have up potted the ones in the basement before now, I would have had more plants. What happened is a lot of seeds didn't develop because they didn't get enough light. They didn't have enough growing room. I'll have to think about that for next year. I might have to consider, what if life is busy, Stephanie, and you can't up pot these right away? Maybe I'm better off starting in a different size pot. Those things to consider. And that's what you should do as a gardener, I think, in my opinion. I think that you should always be looking on how to improve, because gardening is not a destination. You're not like, you know what? Now I know gardening. Like, you continue to learn gardening all the time. And I expect to be learning more gardening when I am 70 as well. So those are my notes on tomatoes. I think I should put them in different size containers, maybe not as many seeds. So if I can't get to them, I'm going to build in an emergency fail-safe for myself. Stephanie, if life is too busy that you can't up pot your tomatoes, how can you make it so that they'll be okay and avoid this problem next year? Now, I still have plenty of tomatoes, but I'd had more. It's a problem. It's a big problem. All right, friends, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.